That's the only difference. And a lot of you clowns, because it got hard to be a Moor, it got hard to keep holding everything down. Y'all bum switch sides. Then that jump been going on way back when. But understand something. One thing we're gonna get understood. Yes, and you know, and of course, a lot of information is coming out about the so-called Seminole Wars and all that stuff. In reality, the Seminole Wars was just an extension of the Creek Wars that went on in the South that started in around the War of 1812. You know what I'm saying? It just extended. Now, what they don't like to tell you is, ultimately, the Muslims actually defeated the United States Army in the Southeast. You know what I'm saying? They had to pretty much just let us be like we was in the South. You know what I'm saying? Because we kept fighting, and not only did we keep fighting, we inspired the rest of we inspired the people who sold out to want to reform the Confederacy, because they saw that we wasn't bowing down and we kept fighting. They said, well, we need to be like them Moors, and we need to go ahead and reform as the Confederacy and let the Moors take charge again in the South. But again, by the time they wanted to reform the Confederacy, it was too late. It was already too much infiltration, too many turncoats, too many fake people talking about they some abolitionists, especially up in East Tennessee and stuff like that. It was too late by then. That's why you always stand on your square, no matter how hard it gets. Even if it takes you to sacrifice your own, martyr your own self. Your own blood gotta be shed. It does not matter. You stick with it. And we're going to talk about, in this drop right here, we're going to talk about the Muslims in the South, the Barbary Muslims in the South, who no matter what, all through the mid-1800s, they kept fighting. They never gave it up. And ultimately they won. And they inspired all the clowns who didn't want to stay Muslim and keep fighting to want to reform, to want to take their turn at fighting. But again, it was too late by then. That's why it didn't work. You know what I mean? So yeah, we're going to, you know what I'm saying, in this drop, we're going to talk about the Second Seminole War and how ultimately the Southern Barbary Muslims prevailed, because they didn't stop. Because no matter how unpopular they were, no matter how many people turncoated on these people, you know what I'm saying, they kept fighting. And they got respect. You know what I'm saying? To this day, the Seminoles are like the so-called myth of the Seminoles, because really there's no such thing as a Seminole. Let's get that out the paint. It's the Southern Barbary nations. You know what I'm saying? The remainder of the Southern Barbary nations and the Southern Barbary army is what fought the so-called fake Seminole Wars. It was really the Barbary Wars that went all the way up to really the 1865. You know what I'm saying? So, in this drop, we're going to go into the so-called Seminole Wars. You know what I'm saying? The Second Seminole War, you have the Seminole Wars lasted. The so-called Seminole Wars are really the Creek Wars, and they lasted all through the 1800s in the South. And it resulted in the so-called Creeks, which is the Southern Barbary Muslims, defeating the United States Army in the South. They like to tell you that they sent all there were no so-called natives left in Florida, and all the Seminoles were left, and only a few stayed in Florida. Man, that's a lot of cow. You know what I'm saying? The same Asiatic people that was in Florida back then are the same Asiatic people that's down there now. You know what I'm saying? And understand, when they really say Florida, Florida really includes southern Georgia, it includes southern Alabama, and it includes southern Mississippi. That's east and west Florida. It's not this current state of Florida. No, the Creek Wars was all through the deep south. So when they're talking about the so-called Seminole Wars or the Creek Wars, it was going on in Georgia, this current states of South Georgia.